Velkommen til Mails radio station.
Hi, Julian Rumi.
Hi, nice
Hi.
to see you.
Yeah, welcome to this radio station.
Thank
Mel's
you.
radio station is kind
Thank
of
you
my...
for being invited.
Yeah.
It's very nice of you.
Yeah, I have a idea that poetry can be pain relief.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I have been reading your poems the last week because I'm following you on Instagram, and there you write a poem each day and you share it. And so the last 2 weeks I've been following you, and it is really nice.
Well, thank you.
But what you write is often in Norwegian, so I ask you to share some poems in English, because I think that not only Norwegians need your poems, I think that people, human beings around in other countries as well could kind of be happy to listen to your poems, and so that's why we do this in English, so more to share it with more human beings. So can you just tell me about Julian Rumi? Who are you?
I'm a Norwegian Turkish boy, soon to be man. I live currently at Nesodden, or in Oslo, and right now I do poetry. Mostly I post my poetry on Instagram. And as you said, it's mostly on Norwegian, because it's my mother language, and I like this. I like to try to boost the Norwegian language as well, the culture around Norwegian, that even though it's very nice talking English as well, I also like boost the nationality feeling almost.
Yeah, exactly. But you're studying in Oslo, aren't you?
Yes, I'm currently studying artificial intelligence and philosophy at the University of Oslo. And it's actually while reading philosophy and doing the study that I also started writing poetry.
How come? Can you just tell us about the day you're starting to write poetry?
It's actually funny, because I didn't like poetry at all. Like I never read any poetry. The only one I knew about was like Rumi Kaur, who's a very famous poet right now. But I have a lot of love for hip hop music and rap. And rap is well, not all rap, but a lot of it's very similar to poetry. It's poetry together with music. And that's actually where my interest in writing mostly started. So I do some music as well with my friends, and that's where I started writing. And then during this period where I was studying, I had some difficulties with like figuring out what I want to do, figuring out who am I, what am I doing here, what's the purpose of life, and all those questions that you get as a 20-year-old.
Especially if you are reading philosophy.
Especially if you're reading philosophy, yes, because then you get just more and more questions, and you're like, oh, holy shit, I didn't even know that you can ask these questions. But then it was one day that it was my mom actually that said, you should try writing poetry. Just try writing, I think you will enjoy it. I think it will help you. And I first I was like, nah, I don't know, maybe, sure, I can try. And then it was one day I was bored, and I tried writing some poetry in just like this notebook that I used for work actually. So I tried writing 1 or 2 poems, and it was nice.
With a pen and paper, kind of.
That was pen and paper, yes.
Yeah, the old style.
The old-fashioned way. But actually that time it was more like I was really bored, so I just did it to try. And I didn't really get the sense of it right away. But then it was one day, I think it was the week after, I sat on the bus station on my way to the university. I just missed my bus, so I had like 7 minutes or something like that. I sat on the bus station. I was like, you know what the hell? Maybe I should try writing a poem right now. Like, what's a better start than right now, you know? And I just took up my phone. I took up the notes, the app, and then I looked around and said, what am I going to write about? I saw like this a half-eaten sandwich, or like on the ground, not even half-eaten. It was just like teared up and broken. And I thought, maybe I should try. I'll try writing about the sandwich. And then I just began. I saw a half-eaten sandwich on the ground. I wonder what her partner did to her. So I kind of flipped the sandwich thing into being like abused woman, or it could be a man as well. But in I wrote her. And I wrote the thing, and I sent it to my mom, and she said, "This is really good." And first of all, I thought like, well, every mom will say that.
Exactly. But she and your father, they gave you a special name.
Yes. They also gave me the name Rumi. And Rumi is a famous, as we said, Rumi is a famous poet from a famous Muslim or a Sufi poet from the older times, or the golden ages, as they were called in the Islamic world.
800 years ago, actually.
Yes.
Rumi, he lived. Yes.
And he's my mom's favorite poet. So she really loves Rumi. And then when I was born, she gave me this name, Julian Rumi.
Yeah.
And I think she probably did it as a hope for me to become a poet. And now that I'm starting to write poetry, I've never really used the name that much. Or used the name because I have a long name, and it's a middle name as well. But now, since I'm writing poetry, it fits pretty well. And
and he lived his 50 last years in Turkey, where you also have spent some years.
That's right. Since my mom is Turkish, we've lived in Turkey a little bit as well. But only as I only lived there as a kid. You know, last time I was 5th grade, I think.
Yeah, and Rumi, he had his last 50 years there. So So, and I read the first 2 poems you have been written in English. You shared them with me just 1 week ago, or something like that.
That's true.
When I proposed to invite you as a guest here in my radio station, and then actually the 2 poems you choose to share with me, they're quite emotional. It's about a relationship, and I felt they were a little bit different than the poems you are putting on Instagram.
They're originally first of all, they're originally written in English. So most of my poems I write in Norwegian, but these 2 I wrote them in English because one of them actually I wrote while being in London visiting a friend, and since he's British and I was in London, and I was thinking, I'll try writing some English. And so a little bit difference to it, you know.
And then I found out that Rumi, actually, he's kind of the poet of joy and love, you know.
I could write a love poem to you. A poem that describes in the most extraordinary and glorified way how much I love you. In the real world, though, there is no fire-breathing dragon that needs a courageous knight to slay it. There is no deadly tall mountains I need to climb just to prove my love for you. I want to show you my love as an everyday hero. I love you so much that I want to hear everything about your day, even the parts only you find exciting. I love you so much that I want to clean the whole house before you come home from a long journey, even though you didn't ask for it. I love you so much that I could snuggle in the couch several days in a row without saying a single word, and it will still feel better than doing anything else without you. I love you so much that I don't want to dream often fantasies about you. I want to face reality head on together. Even when it gets boring and painful, it's still 1,000 times better than wandering blindly in the mist of fantasies. That's it.
When I read it today, I just got like tears in my eyes. It's very, very, very beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's for a special girl.
Yeah, really. And she had already been reading it, or
no? I just wrote it and sent it to her.
Yeah.
So and the thing is, like, my creative process when I write the poems, it's I don't really, on a lot of them I don't use a lot of time.
No.
Really, I think that a lot of my poems, I like to think of them as like thought process.
Exactly.
As a thought process, because that's how it started for me.
Yeah.
I started writing poetry because I wanted to clear up my mind a little bit. I want to organize and figure out what do I believe in, what do I mean, what I don't mean. If I have like a negative thought or whatever, something I don't really want to think about, when I write it down, I kind of stop thinking about it in a way. As it's kind of weird because in one sense of the way, you kind of distance yourself from this thought when you write it down and you read it out loud. You kind of feel like, oh, I can choose if I believe in this or not. I can choose because it's gone. But at the same time, this is a product that you made. It's from you. So it's both like I have this ownership to it, but at the same time, I don't necessarily mean or stand by all of the things I write.
Yeah, that's the important thing. It's kind of, I think it's kind of, the art comes sometimes from above, from another place, another space, and kind of more a collective consciousness more. But I think the love poem is kind of talking for itself, and when I was reading it, I felt like this is really love, this is love. So it's kind of, it was kind of filled with positive feelings. It was very like this. Here we have so much joy and also kind of also focus. Kind of, it's like easy. It's kind of easy loving.
Yeah, thank you. But love ain't easy, though.
Exactly, and then we are coming to the poem number 2. But I mean, it's kind of the easy love,
Yeah, and I think for me as well, it's generally when I write poems, I try to like find the rawness of an emotion.
Exactly.
So it usually starts with like one sentence or one thought, one feeling. And then I start with that, and then I just try to build upon it, like as much as I can, as much as possible. And especially for this poem, this love poem, this is something I like. As I said, I some things that I write I don't really believe in, or it's not really me in a way. But this is like, I believe in this poem. I really think that for love to work, you can't dream off in fantasies. Love is about the small things. It's about the everyday things, the cleaning the kitchen, the just saying I love you every day, and so on and so on.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this poem is more that you are kind of using more your kind of life wisdom,
Yes.
and also more the heart. More it was so it's more like emotional feeling, because the other poems I've been reading, they're kind of more like thoughts, but this is kind of really feelings about something difficult but good.
Yeah.
and then I read the number 2, you know, and I was like, I was sitting with my phone, you know, because I got it with the messenger. And then oh my God, this was completely different. It was kind of a shock for me. I thought it was very interesting, the contrast. So could you maybe read the second one now, and then we can discuss kind of the contrast, you know, because
let's do it.
Because or do you want to tell more about it, or just want to
no, I think we can just I think it speaks for itself in a way. We can call this poem Undrinkable.
Undrinkable, yeah.
Yes. Disappointment. Annoying. Like toying with scissors, scissoring my emotions. Bits and pieces of me scattered on the ground. You were trying to pick them up, but your fingertips were burning the moment you touched me. Disappointing. Thought we were ocean, floating, balanced on the surface of the earth. Toxic in the water. We're undrinkable.
Yeah. Whew. What happened in between from the ocean floating, balancing, and then something undrinkable? What a change.
Yeah, and this poem as well, it started with just disappointment.
Yeah.
And also like my thought process as well. That was the first thing. I just thought about something. I just thought about disappointment. And then, especially this poem, since I wrote it directly on English, since I've all the rap that I listen to mostly is on English. For me, it was important for me that I wanted it to like flow a little bit. And that's also where I use with flowing, what flows more than water.
Exactly.
So it's like the thought process for this one is actually kind of special comparing to a lot of my other poems, because it's like I wanted it to flow. And as I thought, I want this to flow, I also thought about the metaphor water.
Exactly.
Because water flows. And I also thought about then, what is disappointment? It's annoying. That's the first thing. It's annoying. And then I just keep building. What's annoying? Well, it's kind of like toying with scissors. You know, you're not supposed to toy with scissors, or like kids when they run around with scissors. And after that, it's just a wordplay, like toying with scissors, scissoring my emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
But this poem, like this poem, for example, it's, even though I the feeling of it is important to me. It's like, it's something I like. Disappointment is a big subject for me because I hate disappointing.
Yeah, you hate disappointing others.
Others, yes.
Yeah.
It's one of my like biggest fears.
Yeah.
The fear of disappointing.
Other person, not being disappointed yourself, but
no, well as well, but more disappointing others.
Yeah, I see.
But at the same time, the content that, because this is about like also a relationship poem.
Exactly, that was interesting. Both of
yes,
about
both of them are.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, this one, like relationship wise, I'm not entitled to it.
Exactly.
I don't really have like this girl that I think that we're toxic and together and we're undrinkable and it's disappointing and blah blah blah. This is more about just me wanting to write a nice poem about disappointment.
Yeah.
So here the feeling is true, but the content in itself, it's not something that I personally find myself in.
No, but you know what? I think that for a person who's kind of had this happening in their personal life, this can really be kind of a pain relief, to read this metaphor, like it's you're balancing in the ocean and then poof, you're into the water and you feel it's kind of toxic. I think that is it is painful, but it's kind of putting like metaphor on some very confusing emotions. And so I think this is really pain relief to read it.
I think so. I think so too.
For me, at least. For me.
Well, thank you. I hope it relieves some pain from you. That would make me happy.
Yeah, it does. But for you as well, how come that it relieves pain for you?
I think, well, as I said earlier, my worst enemy is myself.
Yeah.
I don't really get hurt by a lot of people. I mean, you can kind of say whatever you want to say about me. It would probably not affect me that much. And a lot of my flaws and everything I do wrong in my life, I always blame myself.
Exactly.
So for me, it's my thoughts are it's my greatest skill, but it's also my biggest curse.
Yeah.
Because I can really feel sometimes that my thoughts just get overhand and they just take control over me. And if I'm in this negative mindset, it can really feel like I'm paralyzed. I'm unable to move just because my thoughts are constantly nagging on me and telling me things, and I don't want them to tell me these things. So
is it kind of painful? This nagging, is it painful?
It's super. Yeah, it's super. Yeah. It's super painful. Like not physical pain, but in what's it called? The psychological pain. Yeah.
Yeah, psychological or emotional pain, or
emotional pain. Yes.
Yeah, or psyche pain. The pain in the psyche.
Yes. Yeah. And when I write poetry, that's the thing. The thought goes away.
Yeah.
One by one, they go away.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll come back, but then I can just write a new poem, and it'll go away again. And maybe it doesn't even go away sometimes, but at least it gives me a sense of clarity, Yeah. Because it's when I write the poem, it's how can you say? Yeah, as you said, with the metaphors, I kind of put words to thoughts, and I think sometimes thoughts can almost feel like wordless, even though
exactly.
You can, let's say, for example, I can think, oh, I'm so ugly, I'm so ugly, I'm so ugly, but the thought in itself doesn't necessarily say I'm ugly. It's more like it has the feeling of ugliness.
Exactly.
And so when if I, for example, write a poem about feeling ugly, then suddenly I have metaphors and all these words that describe this feeling, and when I can describe it, when I can read it, when I can take control over it.
Yeah.
And then that's this type of therapy.
It's kind of a relief, and I just like Rumi, he has many quotes.
A lot of them.
And I choose two of them. And I was thinking about this one. These pains you feel are messengers. Listen to them. So when you kind of write about the feeling of ugliness, you kind of dare to listen to it, kind of. I think, and I think the feeling of ugliness, it must be a very strange and painful feeling. And I don't know how it is for you to talk about it to me, you don't know me that well, but
but at the same time, I think everyone at some, it's the mirror thing, you can look in the mirror one day and you think, and you look at yourself and like, oh my God, who is this handsome fella? Oh, I would definitely give this guy a kiss. And then the other day, the next day you wake up, you see yourself in the mirror, you look basically exactly the same, but you will look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I am so ugly. I hate this person. In a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's a little bit over exaggerating, but I think everyone at the same time. Yeah, I think everyone feels like that sometimes. Sometimes some days they feel ugly, some days they feel pretty, but you're always you.
Yeah, and then to write a poem about it. I think that you were talking about rap music, but I've been like into rap music for some years now. But this this poetry thing is a little bit new, and maybe it's because I see it much more on Instagram now. Because poetry is very for this Instagram. Look,
it's perfect. It's perfect for Instagram.
Yeah, it is
perfect. It's,
so I kind of get hooked on poetry made by men. I don't know why. I kind of hooked on it, and so I've gone like from the music, rap music, to more like poetry made by men, and I just found a study actually. One study comparing poetry and music and pain relief in cancer patients. There were 22 persons. They got like pain relief by poetry, 22% by music, and 22% control, like doing as usual. And the music and poetry helped with the pain. It was pain relief, both of them, and also the depression went down. But the poetry had an extra plus. It made the hope go up, not the same way as the music.
I you know what? I think that makes sense in a way.
How? Can you explain that for me?
Yes, I can. Well, this is just a theory, though.
It's
not my study, so I don't know.
No.
But like, if you, for example, if you go through a breakup, you know,
relationship. You mean a relationship?
Yes, relationship breakup, or whatever. And you feel so sad, and you miss this person, and you'll start listening to breakup songs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very normal thing to do, listening to breakup songs about breakups and how you miss this person. I think in some ways it will feel very nice to listen to these type of songs, but they won't necessarily lift you up, because they will keep reminding you of this feeling of breaking up.
Exactly.
So it's like this melancholic sort of happiness, you know, where you feel just comfortable being in your own shell in a way. And also I think in a way that music can, like, it instantly gives you emotions.
Exactly.
In a way, you don't have to think about it at all.
No.
Like 2 seconds in the song and you already know, like, okay, this is what I'm feeling.
But poetry is harder. Poetry is kind of harder.
Poetry is harder, and that's the thing. I think it's kind of like the same thing with books versus movies.
Exactly.
In when you read a poem, you kind of have to think a little bit about it as well. It's not instant, like it's not instant feelings.
Exactly.
You read it, and then you will also get your own interpretation of it. If it's a good poem, you will get your own interpretation, and then like your mind will start working. It will start creating kind of its own version of this poem.
Exactly.
Its own way of looking at this poem in a different way than I think that you can do with music, because music is kind of set up in a way.
Exactly.
Like it can give you different maybe feelings or emotions about it, but like the thought it can give you, I think it's clearer in the poem.
Yeah, because actually the poem, it is just like black things on a white paper, you know, or on a screen. So it's very like you have to use all your imagination, your own kind of vision. How is an ocean? For me, and how is it when you go underwater and it's toxic, and it's kind of my underwater picture coming up, and
and your underwater picture can be completely different from what I see it as.
Exactly.
I think it's a lot like, for example, you know how everyone says like, oh, the book is better.
Exactly.
The book is better. Like, let's say, for example, Harry Potter. It's a very good movie as well. Very good books, but the books are better. And why are the books better? It's because when you read the book, Harry will look the way you want him to look. Exactly. Hermione and Dumbledore and all these characters, all the spells they do, everything, the scene and everything, it's in your mind. You create this, or you kind of borrow this universe, this magical universe.
Exactly.
But when you see the movie, it's wonderful as well, and it's the characters and the actors. It's very well made. I love Harry Potter, but you don't borrow it. You don't use your own imagination because they're already there. Harry Potter is there. Hermione is there. All the spells that they do, what they're doing. So you can't really. The only thing you can do is analyze, or you can give your opinion upon it, but you can't really use it as your own.
No, because
same way as the book does.
Exactly. So that is interesting because actually I'm wondering about, is the book going to die or not? And so actually I have another talk coming on that topic actually.
Interesting.
So, and maybe like small poems on Instagram can make like you want to maybe read a book about poems, and then maybe you want to read a book with other kind of stuff. So it's interesting. But and maybe are you going to share your poems on paper, or do you want to continue to have it on screen?
I'm going to continue on Instagram, but I want to publish something on paper as well. I'm not going to reveal too much to I don't want to jinx it, but I think also it's, for me personally, it's just like a goal, to just have your own book with my own poems in it, and just seeing my name, it's physical, and I can say that I made this. This is me. This is a product of me in a way, and that's, so I definitely want it to be on paper as well, but for now it's digital.
So we'll see what's happening. So how was this talk on Saturday afternoon for you? How was it actually, this talk about poetry as pain relief? How was it?
It's nice, I like talking about poetry, especially my own.
Exactly.
And I really agree with poetry as a pain relief. I think and you don't even have to publish it as I do. I think a lot of people it doesn't even have to be poetry, just writing down your thoughts. It's just a pain relief of just choosing, because then you can really see, what am I thinking? Who am I on paper? And then when you see it on paper, you can literally choose. You can be like, this thought, I don't like this thought. I don't think I really believe in this.
No.
And then you will stop thinking that way. At least that's how it's for me. After I started writing poetry, I feel I can almost choose.
Yeah. Wow.
I can choose which thought I want to believe in or not.
Exactly.
They might come. They might come even though, but I'll be like, this is not me. This is just a random thought.
Yeah.
Or it can come like a bad thought, and I can be like, oh, this bad thought can be such a good poem. I'm going to write this down.
Yeah.
And then I turn something negative into something positive.
Exactly. So you kind of then maybe I can finish this talk with just one quote from Rumi, because I like to use references, studies and masters. And
you're the psychiatric, so it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So he says, don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rumi says it the best.
Yeah. Julian Rumi. Yeah.
Julian Rumi. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Bye-bye then.
Thank you very much. It was nice talking.
Yeah. Thank you.